Hey guys, Jack Spirko here. I'm probably going to post this video both. I'm going to fix that camera just a little bit there. I'll probably post this video both on YouTube and Facebook, and it applies to both of them, though less to Facebook because Facebook really isn't generally a monetization platform for people. This video is a warning to creators, and it's about what I've just learned that Patreon's been doing. I was very small time on Patreon. And actually, my business model is what I'm going to suggest for most of you. For maybe if you don't know who I am, maybe somebody shared this video with you or just ended up in your feed or something. I have been podcasting for 10 years. Like many podcasters out there, I aspire to turn my passion for teaching and entertainment and education into a full-time living. And I've been blessed enough that I've been able to do that. But I've been doing it for over 10 years. So one of the biggest blessings in my life is that things like Patreon didn't exist when I started my podcast. So I didn't build my podcast revenue stream through a platform like Patreon. I got a private membership set of software, paid a guy a couple $100, had him set it up and configure it for me, learned how to use it so I could add things to it, take things out of it, and I've run it 100% that way. And so when somebody decides they want to support me and they want to get the benefits that come with that, which include things like discounts and stuff like that, then they pay me directly. There's no middleman. There's a merchant account processor, but there's a lot of options there. And I can even give my people multiple options to how they do that, right? And then what a merchant account provider charges me is far less than what somebody like Patreon would charge me. And I maintain complete control. Because of that, I've been largely immune to this. One of the reasons I'm saying this, though, is out of a sense of personal responsibility. About 2 years ago, when YouTube first started demonetizing people, and people were very concerned and upset about it, and some of the people being demonetized were not even people that were in a political space at all. One of the most successful YouTubers I know was being demonetized because he talked about his Christian faith, which I just find to be, I'm not a man of faith in that way anyway. But I find it to be reprehensible that you would start turning off somebody's revenue because they happen to mention their faith in their videos. It's just disgusting. So Patreon had started kind of coming around as a real thing like that. And I knew that a lot of small-time producers would not really want to go out and do the work to set up a website. And I just ran into this. With a good friend like 5 minutes before I turned this video on. I'm going to tell you his story and why he needs to be worried about this too in just a few moments. But I figured most people wouldn't do that. And so, well, Patreon, it's a voluntary thing people give to you. How could this go wrong? Well, what's gone wrong, and I'm going to put some videos down in the video notes here for you, some links you can go listen to of what Patreon's doing. I don't want to go deep into it. I'll just tell you that they are banning certain people and censoring things. And they're, like one of their head people basically said, we're not a free speech zone. We're not a free market. We'll do whatever the hell we want. You can't do anything about it. And like I said, I wasn't really paying attention because Patreon makes me a couple $100 a month at best. And I earn a really good income directly, so it was just like an extra thing. And it was actually extra work every day to post a second version of the freaking show with no advertisements in it. Yesterday I announced that I'm leaving. I said, I know nobody's going to cry a river over it because it's not a lot of money. And by the way, that made leaving easy, and that's a lesson for you that are getting started right now on any of these platforms. I'm going to talk about YouTube and the potential to have your ass ripped off by them next. But they're censoring people. And the guy that had a conversation, he transcribed it. I'll put the video down here. The most concerning thing in that video to me was that he asked her, he said, this guy Sargon that got banned, if I had said the exact same words he said, would you have banned me? And she said, no, because your entire body of work is different. What? You're going to ban somebody for saying something but somebody else who you also don't even really like can say the same thing and it's okay? That doesn't even make sense in the world of screwed up censorship. So what's happened is a lot of these Patreon people have lost everything because they've been banned. But a lot of other ones who haven't been banned, they're losing tons of money because their subscribers are leaving. Not because they're upset with them, but because they're upset with Patreon as a whole, and there's a bleed, a massive financial bleed going out of Patreon. And I know what you're thinking, but Dr. Jordan Peterson, he's setting up his own version. Well, there's a problem here. When you dig deeper into this, and I'll put a second video down there for you, you'll find out it's not Patreon alone doing this. It's their payment processors like the MasterCard network that are saying we don't want certain things on your platform or we will shut off your ability to use us as your provider. When you're big, Patreon big, YouTube big, Google big, Facebook big, you don't just go running that through something like Stripe. Okay? You have to go to these global payment processing networks, and they're all owned by the same few banks. And those guys aren't exactly friendly to free speech or anything that they don't want to hear. So they were so as bad as Patreon, and I believe there's a cultural problem inside Patreon anyway, but it doesn't help when your entire business model is being held hostage by your merchant processor, which seems like it's also going on. So if someone like Peterson or any of these other people that are talking about a Patreon alternative are going to get big enough to matter, they're going to run into that too. Centralization is the problem. Decentralization is the solution. Listen, folks, there are plugins. You can run a membership site on a WordPress website for $9 a month. There is software that you can buy for a couple $100, $300, $400, $1,000, depending on how much you want to invest and how much you need it to do. And you own it forever and you never have to pay for it again. That's what I use. I use a software called Amember Pro. There are programmers out there that work for very reasonable money that will set it up. I don't know how to do it. It doesn't matter. They'll do it for you. If you pay a couple $100. And you might be out $400 or $500 to get set up in the beginning, or less if you use a monthly program. And I know that's money out of pocket. But if what you're building is going to make you a couple $1,000s a month eventually, then why put it at risk? Why put it at risk? Because you're putting it at risk. We have to decentralize because digital sharecropping doesn't work. What's digital sharecropping? I do some of it, but I don't base my life on it. Right now you're watching this video. If they don't demonetize this one, I might get some money for an advertisement that runs on it. But that's gas money. That's not how I pay my mortgage. That's not how I pay my contractors. That's not how I pay for my car. That's not how I buy my groceries. That's not how I pay for the fun shit in my life. It's free money, so I'll take it, but I will not become dependent on it, because if I'm dependent on it, I am subject to the will of the person giving it to me. And that's what this is really about. And this has happened a bunch. I've seen it. I've been around longer than a lot of you, and that's why I know this is nothing new. Way back in the day, I was making thousands of dollars a month using Google AdSense, using basic arbitrage techniques. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. Just know I was making a lot of money. There were people making $100,000 a month on that program. There were people that built entire companies on that program. And when Google starved out other programs like Yahoo Publisher and every other contextual advertising platform out there that was worth a damn, they just changed the rules, kept the money, and you just watched your revenue decrease every month until it wasn't even worth worrying about anymore. Program's still there, but you can't make money with it anymore. And they knew most of the publishers that had all these little websites set up everywhere wouldn't take them down. If they still made a couple $100 a month, they'd take it. But they invested thousands of hours and tens of thousands of dollars. And then Google just pulled the plug because they could. Google also pulled the plug on a project they weren't even directly connected to called PaperPost. It was basically a program for people who are like mommy bloggers and small-time bloggers. And some of these bloggers had never made a dime in their life. And then all of a sudden they were making $300, $400 a month. Some of them make $1,500, $2,000 a month. What they were doing wasn't hurting anybody, had nothing to do with politics. Google didn't like the business practice. Google, being the largest search engine, hunted down all the blogs that were part of the program and either delisted or set their page rank to a PR of 0. And at the time that mattered, and it destroyed the entire platform. And they took women that were, buying extra food for their kids and crapped all over them. So when I see this shit going on today, I'm not shocked. I'm not surprised. It's par for the course. The problem with digital sharecropping is somebody always has the potential to pull the rug out from under you. And I'm not saying that some of these affiliate programs and things like that, you shouldn't do it. What I'm saying is, if it becomes the main way that you pay your bills, if you're serious about content creation as a podcaster, a video producer, a blogger, I don't care what. If it becomes the main way you pay your bills, if it is half your income, you can't afford to lose it, and that means you're going to do whatever they tell you to, or you're going to get caught in a trap, and they're going to shut it off with nothing you can do about it. Let me give you an example. A friend of mine, the guy I mentioned earlier, named John, He has a business of microgreens. Microgreens is a cool little niche to be in. He busts his ass and sells microgreens to restaurants. It's his full-time income. Lots of people want to get involved with it, some for personal use, some want to go out and do it commercially. So he set up a Patreon page. On that page, you can learn how to do all the cool stuff that he's learned over like 3.5 years of doing this. All his mistakes, all the ways to do it, how to talk to restaurants, how to talk to farmers markets, what to do, what not to do. Now, what the hell could possibly go wrong there, John? I'm talking directly to you right now, John. Well, they would never come after you, would they? Dude, you're an anarchist. You're all over Facebook trolling the shit out of people. You post offensive shit on Facebook all the time. I know it doesn't go on your Patreon page, but check this shit out. You listen to that video down there below with that dude, and here's what he's going to tell you. He's going to tell you during his conversation with this compliance bitch, whoever the hell she is, she told him that you could get banned from Patreon for something that wasn't even on Patreon. That if it was attached to you and your brand and it made them look bad, they could just decide that you didn't need to be there anymore. So what if you build this thing up to where it's making you $1,000 a month and you're all happy about that? And some hater, because you know we all have haters, folks. This is another thing. This type of thinking allows for this third-party individual hater that doesn't like you to find the worst thing you've ever posted or said and get 20 or 30 other freaking ding-dongs alongside of them and launch a smear campaign against you and ban your ass. Don't think it can happen? It does. And what did she tell this guy? Listen to the video yourself. He said, well, how do I know? She said, call us and ask us. I'll talk to you, because he's a big producer. And I'll tell you, no, you can't post that. Or yes, you can post that. Or change this word. Or, well, you can post that over there, but don't put it on Patreon. Or, no, if you post that, we're going to ban you. No. You can't live like this. Somebody could find a picture of you in a yearbook from 1985 and screw you out of your income if you go this path. Tell me I'm wrong. So again, I think the solution is build your own platforms in a decentralized manner. I don't think we're ever going to have a way like, you're going to get all the, and we don't need this anyway, right? Like, I don't want like libertarian tube. I wanted YouTube to be what YouTube always was supposed to be. Everybody had a voice. Everybody could say what they had to say. And whatever they did evenly and equally to all. Well, it's not to be. And I'm going to warn something else for a lot of you YouTube producers. They've set this thing up that makes it real easy for you on YouTube now. $5 a month, and you can have your subscriber become a member, and then you got a back office, and you can do super chats and whatever the hell else you can do. Don't do that shit. I'm watching all the aquarium channels I follow right now, because I'm a fish nerd, right? I'm watching all the aquarium channels. Everybody's doing it. They're all pulling from the same pool, first of all. And how many YouTube channels are you going to support at $5 a month? 4? That's $20 a month. That's significant for a lot of people, right? You build your own brand, your own loyalty on your own platform. Because what's going to happen is, I guarantee you, one of these people doing this, and their channel's not even political, but they're a political person somewhere else, or they're engaged in something somewhere else that someone doesn't like. And that's all it has to be, is something somewhere that somebody doesn't like. And somebody's going to launch a smear campaign against you, and they're going to demonetize your shit. Don't let it happen. Because it's never going to be easier than now. If you already have money coming in through Patreon, the more you build it, the harder it will be to build something of your own and wean off of it. What I would advise you to do if you're in any of these programs like this right now, build a competing platform that you own and control where you build directly and start migrating your people. Migrate as many of them as you can. And don't promote the one on the platform anymore. If you want to leave it there because it provides you income, go ahead. Personally, me, I just deleted my Patreon. Well, I didn't delete it yet because I feel obligated to finish my week for my patrons. But Sunday, I'm deleting my account. I posted a thing yesterday telling my patrons why I'm deleting my account. And I'm doing it on principle. But you know what? It's easy to do on principle right now, isn't it? Because I have all my money in my own program and a little bit of money in Patreon. Again, I only did Patreon so that I could talk to people intelligently about it and understood how it worked. But it won't ever be easier than now. Use caution. If you're going to build a revenue model online, build a revenue model where you and your customer connect directly, where you have a database with their name and email address in it, where you can market anything to them anytime you want, and they're free to leave anytime they want, but they will never be interfered with their ability to support you. Don't end up in a situation where the platform does something stupid and half your audience leaves even though they're not mad at you. Think. We study history, not because we don't want to repeat the mistakes of the past. Folks, we study history because the mistakes of the past will be repeated. And if you look into the long history of Facebook banning people, shutting things down, etc., if you look into the long history of Google, who is YouTube, destroying revenue models of people, not even over politics, just because they didn't like the business practice, because they couldn't fix their own shitty search engine algorithm, they destroyed the income of single moms trying to support children with a blog who were finally making some money and harming no one. So can you really be surprised when they ban somebody like Sargon or what have you? And would you really be surprised if they banned you or demonetized you because of something you said somewhere else, because some hater reported you? I thought this was important. I'm in the middle of my day. I produce a 1.5 to 2 hour podcast every day. That's why I don't do a lot of YouTube videos. I didn't have a lot of time today either, but I thought this was important. And John, dude, people like you that follow me directly, that I know, that have been to my house, that I've watched bust their ass to build their business, the ones I'm most concerned about. You're reaching that tipping point where you can actually make something out of this. And many of you listening to me who have no idea who I am, I give a shit about you just as much as my buddy John. You're reaching that tipping point. Tip that shit to yourself. Don't trust these people. They're not worthy of your trust. Jack out.